Good evening and welcome. This is our Monday, August 8th edition of the Government News Brief. In the news this evening, public sector to benefit from regional expertise through implementation of government's e-governance program. Law students to receive government's assistance in negotiations for entry into Hugh Wooding Law School. These and other stories when the news returns. I am Shivani Rampaswad and this is the Government News Brief. Thank you for staying with us. Here are the details. The local public sector will benefit from regional expertise with the implementation of the government's e-governance program through CARICAD. Details in this report.
Guyana, in launching its e-government network, will strengthen the operations of the public sector. Guyana will also be in a position to draw on the strengths of the Caribbean Center for Development Administration, CARICAD, says Permanent Secretary, Department of Public Service, Reginald Broderson. Outgoing CARICAD Chairman Dr. Peter Allen explains the opportunities available to CARICAD member states.
Some of the core products, for example, in CARICAD that we will offer to our member states is policy development, looking at the opportunities that ICT, that technology can bring to e-governance solutions.
The rollout of the government's e-governance project will also advance human development and empowerment and community development through community-based organizations. Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu explains the importance his administration places on the program.
Our government sees the implementation of countrywide e-government as critical to our development. We are cognizant that the widespread adaptation of the use of the Internet and information and communication technology will fuel this development. And our planned provision of ICT hubs is intended to provide e-government services to all remote and hinterland communities.
Given the increased dependence on ICT and e-governance solutions within the region, CARICAD will function to develop the capacity of public servants to comply with new pieces of legislation enacted to cater for this transformation. Andre Griffith, CARICAD's Assistant Director, Corporate Services, explains.
The whole suite of legislation, the ITU, International Telecommunications Union, led a process for, I think they produced about 7 or 9 model laws, pieces of model legislation, precisely for that purpose. And it is wide ranging from cybercrime, intercept of communications, but also e-commerce, electronic transactions, and so on. And in that it specifies, and there's been a lot of discussion as to how we operationalize that throughout the region.
Griffith added that due to crime and security in the region, most governments are in the process of enacting necessary legislation to protect sensitive information being gathered. Some of the legislation speaks to cybercrime along with other data protection legislation.
Where CARICAD has to come into that is that it's one thing to pass the law. The other thing is to develop the capacity individual public servants to actually act in conformance with the laws, with the new regime that's in place. So yes, there's a role for us in that arena. CARICAD is actually the lead agency in CARICOM for e-government. That has been recognized by the Council for Trade and Economic Development, if not the conference.
The Caribbean Center for Development Administration, CARICAD, is a regional intergovernmental organization which was established by CARICOM. It specializes in transforming and modernizing the public sector to promote, strengthen and upgrade the managerial and system capabilities of public sector entities within CARICOM member states.
The government of Guyana has agreed to assist law students as the University of Guyana continues negotiations to resolve the limbo of law students' entry into the Hugh Wooding Law School. Tiffany Rodius has this report.
Attorney General Basil Williams says government will be assisting the University of Guyana in its effort to resolve negotiations with the Council of Legal Education on the automatic entry agreement of law students into the Hugh Wooding Law School.
But we have been requested to assist in a kind of holding operation so as to give the University of Guyana the space to deal with these negotiations.
The University of Guyana and the Hugh Wooding Law School agreement on the automatic entry of 25 law students from Guyana and 10 non-nationals from UG has been stalled since last year. The Attorney General, who is also Minister of Legal Affairs, notes that government is not a part of the ongoing negotiations among the UG, the UWI and the CLE, but government has an abiding interest in the welfare of the law students.
We can't at this time support any kind of scholarships for law students or the like. But as I said, we do our best to facilitate them as we have done.
Williams is expected to make representation to Parliament today for funds towards the Council of Legal Education, CLE. The previous administration had neglected its obligations to contribute to the CLE for the upkeep of the Hugh Wooding Law School. Meanwhile, the Attorney General said government is exploring the establishment of a local law school.
We are looking at the question of a local law school built by a public-private partnership arrangement. So these negotiations and exploration of these things are ongoing.
The Council of Legal Education has granted Guyana permission for the establishment of the school. For the Government News Brief, I'm Tiffany Rogers.
The People of Ward Entrepreneurial Resources Project, POWER, initiative which caters for both male and female empowerment, is currently being rolled out, and the Social Protection Ministry is urging persons to take advantage of it. Senika Toran has more.
Minister of Social Protection Varda Lawrence explains that the ministry's project department is in the process of reviewing the respective projects to qualify eligible persons for the loans.
If you know of any men or any men out there who would like to do something for themselves or are presently doing something and would like to expand it, then we invite them to come to the ministry and ask for the Special Projects Department at Lamaha Street. Married women, widow, they can benefit too, because the WOW is only for single parents. So everyone else who is not a single parent can come in.
The POWER program is also geared at assisting fathers to take on leadership responsibilities within the home and the family. Minister Lawrence is encouraging men to take advantage of the program, which will also cater for male and female single parents, widows, and widowers who are unable to access loans under the WOW program to start up income-generating projects.
It is on board. A few weeks ago, we concluded all the signatures to the documents with the bank, and so that is on board. I know that the department have been meeting with those men who did apply previously, and so they are working with them to get them through the process.
This POWER project will be directly funded by the government through the Ministry of Social Protection. Mechanisms will also be put in place to ensure that the project is effectively managed. For the Government News Brief, Senika Thorne reporting.
Maruka residents' complaints of labor exploitation by miners and pollution of rivers will be investigated by the Ministry of Natural Resources. Delicia Haynes has the details.
Minister of Natural Resources Raphael Trotman and Minister within the Ministry Simona Brooms heard of labor exploitation in the mining sector during a public meeting at the Santa Rosa Secondary School over the weekend. Village councillors Aloysius Daniel Sr. and Camila Francis explained.
This has to do with most like employment for our village. Mainly like the young men or even the older ones like myself. Right, who would go into the mining areas like seeking employment.
I'm representing the people of Kamwata. There have been lots of injustice, just as what he was saying about taking place. Not only for people who marry, got children, but also young people.
The village councillors who spoke on behalf of residents also complained of pollution of the waterways due to an ongoing mining activity. Graham Atkinson, village councillor of Santa Rosa and the Islands, explains.
Winey River was very heavily, lots of sediments from mining activity, and the only falls we have in our subject, Maka Falls, I think was this big sludge coming through.
The minister explained that the ministry is aware of these issues and will address them shortly. Additionally, Minister Trotman explained that the claims of the Winey River pollution would be investigated by the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission.
Issues of pollution in the Winey, that is something that I'm going to personally check on, and if possible have a team of GGMC people and its environmental unit go and check on that. That's something that we're going to do.
Minister Trotman also told the residents that the community will have a new road by next year.
We are going to have to redo the Cubana Road next year. So the money goes into the budget for it this year. Budget is going to be in December. It's not going to be next year. So the money will be approved this year for work to start on the road next year.
Residents also raised concerns for more poles and lines for electricity supply and the need for drugs at the regional hospital. Minister Trotman gave assurances that these issues will be raised with the respective subject ministers and addressed. The Natural Resources team is expected to revisit the community later in this month. For the Government News Brief, I am Delicia Haynes.
Economic growth through agriculture is on stream for the community of Camarang Region 7. Renetta Lafleur has that report.
Camarang residents are too reliant on Georgetown for food supply. They were urged by Minister of Indigenous Peoples Affairs, Sidney Alicock, to get more involved in agriculture.
At the moment, things like chicken, sometimes if you look at it, basic food stuff comes all the way from Georgetown. When you have this rich area here that you could be planting your ground vegetables, having your chicken or growing fish, rearing fishes here, probably pork.
In an interview with Gina, the minister explained that young people are shifting away from agriculture. The minister cited their involvement in mining activities as a contributing factor. Minister Alicock called for the establishment of community-based agriculture by the residents.
The people here need to focus back to agriculture. It might not be big agriculture, but having community-type agriculture, community-based agriculture, things that families could handle. So you eat fresh fruits. You have better access to your farms, better markets. You have markets here. The miners would buy, but you have to have aggressive marketing people here who love planting. And
the older residents in the community who are knowledgeable about farming must work along with the youths, the minister urged. Minister Alicock notes that his ministry will be engaging the youths through the Hinterland Empowerment Youth Service HAZE to promote agriculture among other disciplines. Once agriculture begins to roll out in the community, residents will directly benefit from the profits. Renetta Lafleur for the Government News Brief.
This has been another edition of the Government News Brief. The details of these and other stories can be found on Gina's website. We encourage you to subscribe to our website and YouTube channel. You can also like and follow us on Facebook to be updated as the news unfolds. Remember to join us again tomorrow evening for another edition of the Government News Brief. Thank you for watching. Have a great night.